Good. Looks like we have a couple of students entering, so I'm just going to give it maybe like 2 minutes before we start, just to let everybody enter. All right, it looks like everybody is coming in. So just in the interest of time, we can get started. So hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. And let me extend a warm congratulations on your acceptance to either the Telecommunication Networks or the Cyber Physical Systems programs. We're excited to have you start in less than 2 months now. So thank you so much for attending today. My name is Marissa. I'm one of the folks in the Graduate School of Engineering on the admissions team, and I'm happy to help students as they sort of make their way into their new programs. So we have a couple folks today who are associated with the program, so I will let them introduce themselves before I hand the mic over to Dr. Rolando Herrero. So Rolando, you're first on my screen. So do you want to give a brief introduction, just who you are, what you do at Northeastern?
Everyone, thank you for joining. My name is Rolando Herrero. I am the Team Director for Telecom and Telecommunication Systems product. And my background is in electrical engineering and been in the industry for 10 years and now I'm driving program.
Great. Marie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everyone, or whatever part of the country you're in. But good morning, good afternoon, good night. My name is Marie East. I am a part of the MGen team. Been Northeastern for 2 years, part of the Northeastern community for about 20 plus years. And I will pass it over to Russell.
Hello, everyone. My name is Russell Westorp. I'm the Senior Academic Advisor with COE for multidisciplinary engineering. So that includes telecommunication networks and cyber physical systems. The other members of our team are our Assistant Director, Janika Gurzy. Let's see here. Jen and Molly are also in Boston. And we also have folks for the Global Campus Network. So if you are one of the other campuses, there are dedicated staff there as well. So like Colin Dykes in Toronto. And if you have questions about course registration, degree requirements, graduation clearance, things like that, we work directly with Rolando in making sure that you're taking the correct courses and getting into courses that you need for your program. We don't do anything with co-op. We don't do anything with necessarily student visas. But if you have questions, you should always reach out to us. And the best way to reach out to us is always COE-MGen-grad advising, the email address. That's pretty much the only way we can advise right now. We do have slots for you to meet with advisors directly one-on-one. And we also have online advising hours throughout the semester that we will advertise. But I'm really happy for all of you to be here and a pleasure to meet you and looking forward to all working with you. Back to you, Marissa.
Thanks, Russell. And then we also have 2 superstar students who are on the call with us today. They are 2 of our student ambassadors, so they're happy to meet you as well. So I will let them introduce themselves. Ali, you're first on my screen. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Ali, the second student in Telecommunication Network program. I'm also the ambassador for this program. I'll be sharing my email and also the link for a one-on-one meeting with me. If you have any question or just wanted to have a chat, just feel free to book a meeting with me. Thank you. Back to Marisa.
Great, thanks. Amir, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, this is Amir. I'm the student ambassador for Cyber Physical Systems here at Toronto. I'm right in my second year of Cyber Physical Systems. So if you have any doubts related to Toronto campus, how the program is offered at here, I'll drop my email address so you can ask anything about the student life experience at Toronto.
Great, thanks so much. And just quickly before we get started, I know many of you submitted questions ahead of time, so thank you so much for doing that. It will really help with the conversation. But if you have any more questions that come up, you can either put them in the Q&A or we also have a chat box. And if you have a question that you'd like to address to someone specifically, just feel free to put in their name prior to typing in the question. So Rolando, did you want to just go briefly through your slides? Are you able to do that?
I do. So I want to mention I live in Boston, and I'm in Toronto, so those are really good contacts. So if you have any questions about the life of student in Toronto, and those are the best contacts. Now, again, my name is Rolando Ferrero. I run this telecom network and system. That's my email address. Any question you have, send me an email. I always answer all the emails, even if it is to tell you I don't know what the answer is. So send an email. I'll get back to you within 24 hours. If you don't hear from me, reach out to me, and I'll attempt to send you a reply back as soon as I see the email. If I didn't reply within 24 hours, it probably means I didn't see the email. Okay, so let's start this. So let me quickly go to a set of slides. So check out the general overview of telecom networks, cellular systems, everything together. If you have any one of the other webinars that I did before now, you may have seen similar material. There are a few changes for the fall, so stay tuned. The telecom program is a very, very successful program that has been around for many, many years. Started in the early 2000s, right after the dot-com revolution, and it's one of the top two programs in the US. It's based in Boston only, so there's no option for Toronto for the telecom program, as you probably know. And basically, a big proportion of the downloads go to work in the US, right, for essential telecom companies and companies that are on the networking area and doing networking stuff. It basically has kind of higher placement in the city, the College of Engineering. And as I said, it's only based in Boston. And the important with the telecom and networking is that everything is telecom. These days, pretty much everything is good, right? So if you're reading, since you woke up, you check your email on your phone, guess what? You're doing telecom. You go and you turn on the car garage, that's telecom. So networking and more importantly, so internet base. And there is this big movement in internet-based networking, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of whether it's a phone call, regardless of whether it is talking to the girl, regardless of whether it is it's so internet-based. So the program is internet-centric, so there is a big emphasis on those protocols, and that's basically the federation uses, right? And there is an organization called UPF, which is the one that basically defines those protocols. And because of that, and network and that's every single human interaction that exists, there are many stuff ranging from localization, so that is networks, 2, 5G, 5G, 6G networks, non-standardized but coming, standardization coming, edge computing, outside networks and so on. Standard type tech jobs, particularly in US, salaries are very, very good. So it's a good area to be if you're interested in telecommunications. Now, this is a unique program as opposed to other programs in electrical engineering. This is a program that focuses on the industry. So this is your degree here is a master's, right? So you not go here for a PhD. No, a master's that will get PhD. So here you get the master's, and that's pretty much it. There doesn't mean you can go for a PhD eventually, but the idea here is that you get the skills to go to work in the industry. And as such, right, This is not like the traditional masters in electrical engineering, or masters in computer science, which are very non-industry focused, and the idea is to teach you really for academia. This is more like the industry days. And as I mentioned, because of that, like this is very, very good if you're looking for a job in the industry. In the context of the United States, this is one of the top networking telecommunication programs that exist. As the location is in Boston, access to, yes.
Rolando, I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no problem.
We just got a message from a couple of students. They're not able to hear you loud and clear. You're coming in a little fuzzy.
Let me see if I can increase my microphone. So bear with me for a second. I'm gonna increase the microphone volume. Hopefully that's I can can you hear me better? If not, I'm probably gonna have to switch computers. Let me see if I can. Okay, you hear me now? No.
You sound really distorted,
I
Rolando.
sound good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me switch computer. I apologize.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna try to switch computers. If
No, that's whatever you just did. That works.
whatever I did. What about now?
You sound great.
I sound great now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, let me know if I don't. Just do not wait. Just let me know right away. If I don't sound right, I'll switch computers. If that the problem is I'm gonna have like a 5-minute break, I'm gonna need to do that. So okay. So assuming I sound fine. So and I'm gonna go a little faster now. So just to focus on the stuff that is relevant to you guys, very relevant. So this is a unique program. Content is pretty much anything related to communications. Again, softwareization, very software centric. Software skills are very important, and I'll talk about that a little before we end the session today. There are a lot of electives. There are a lot of projects you can work on. A lot of the classes, if not all, they are very project oriented. So it's very hands-on learning. Again, jobs is very important. So this leads to co-ops and it leads to graduate placement and excellent salary offers. Okay. So the degree requirements is you basically have core courses and electives. There are 3 core classes for the telecom programs with 5 electives, total 8 classes that leads to 32 credits. That's basically your basic requirement. There is no thesis or project requirement, which is, in other words, you just can take classes, do the projects in the classes. Those should be good enough. But if you are interested, there are options to work on a project, on a custom project, work on a thesis. You can take electives from many different programs within the College of Engineering. Stuff from MGen itself, but depending on the circumstances or your particular needs, you may take classes in other departments like electrical engineering and computer science, even stuff like elective from the part-time MBA program, stuff leading to project management, and that's all good. Is still audio okay? Just checking. Russell is good? Okay, thank you, Russell. So these are the core classes that are required. So 3 classes, as I said, for telecom, data networks. This is about internet, the basics of internet. Then internet protocols and architecture. That's the next step of the internet knowledge. And then the telecom and network infrastructure, which has to do with how you deploy these networks. More at the, the logistics, the physical layer kind of stuff. Okay, those are the required classes. These are the core classes. Now, if you want to take electives, there is many electives. In the context of communications and networking, you have stuff dealing with wireless communications, with unified communications. This is where you do your real-time communication, where you speak and you transmit your speech over the networks, your voice over IP, your video over IP, all that kind of stuff. You have fundamentals of IoT, which is about Internet of Things, which is an extension of networking and communications. We have classes specified on security, on 5G. machine learning in the context of telecom, something very, very important. As we turn to automate things, machine learning is becoming key. We have classes on software-defined networks. This is basically where you use software to basically manipulate the routing that happens in the networks and the management of packets within a network. Classes like connected devices, where you have the IoT infrastructure from the perspective of an end-to-end system. Stuff like smart contracts, very, very important. A lot of the communication between devices these days is done in the context of smart contracts, which is associated with blockchain. So the same stuff you use for cryptocurrencies, right? So a lot of standards going that way. So we have classes for that. In all, as I said, software is very, very important. So you're going to end up doing one way or the other one. You're going to be writing software. Wherever you end up going, you probably will. So we also have supporting classes that lead with software, which I'm going to talk about them later, right? Like here, right? So you have, classes that lead with operating systems, with the design of automation tools, with the design of smart devices in the context of IoT, with object-oriented programming. So if you're basically not that familiar with software, you will have the basis here, the knowledge to get up to speed with whatever the industry needs. So anywhere, again, from devices in IoT to the development of web applications, you have classes for it, right? I'm passing by operating systems like Linux and Unix in general, right? A lot of classes on that. Now, this is on telecom, right? So telecom is very, very particular in the sense that it's very centric on the internet protocol and on the communication side. Still, you need software skills because either you end up working as a QA engineer building tools, or you end up as a developer building devices, in which case you're going to need to have software skills. Even if you end up doing sales engineering or tech support engineering, you still need to have software skills. So, but the focus is mostly on the communication side. So the other program we have, which is offered both in Toronto and Boston, is the Cyber Physical Systems program. So Cyber Physical Systems is very, very important these days because it's what enables AI to talk to the physical environment, right? So everybody's, talking about AI these days, right? And most of the use of AI is in the service segment of the job market, right? But there is a trend to move that to also manufacturing. The way you do that is through cyber physical systems. So cyber physical systems is extending AI to the devices. Now, because the devices and AI are in different locations, you need communication. That communication is through IoT technologies or IoT protocols. So IoT is basically that set of technologies and protocols that enable the machines to talk to the AI, right? This is purely standardized. So we want to monitor the environment. We want to, comply with initiatives like home automation, building automation, smart cities, vehicle infrastructure communication, Industry 4.0, connected health, and so on. The way we do that is with IoT. There are basically a lot of technologies out there, chip technologies that support this monitoring. And this is key, again, in the context of Industry 4.0 or the next industrial revolution, in which manufacturing is done in terms of machines in factories, talking to AI somewhere else, typically in a cloud or something like that, that interact, sensing and actuation and knowledge by means of protocols. Traditionally, a cyber physical system solution can be seen as shown on the screen. You have three main components: access, IoT, and core, right? IoT access, IoT itself, which is the communications, and the core. The core is where you run your AI. The IoT access is where you put your devices. In between, you have IoT protocols. Again, this is basically the focus of Cyber Physical Systems program. We focus on those three boxes. This leads to three tracks. when you are a cyber-physical system student, depending on what track you want to be, you want to choose a different set of classes to focus on. So if you are into devices, you want to focus on smart devices, right, on the IoT access. If you're more interested in the telecom stuff, you can focus on IoT communications. If you're more interested into AI and building smart applications, you focus into the IoT core. The idea is that your degree is the same, but your concentration, not the concentration, but actually the track you are in is different, right? Based on this track, you can choose the classes you can take. So if you're really, for example, if you're a telecom student, you can take some of these IoT communication classes. In fact, you can take any of these classes because they are interchangeable for all students. But here you will have more perspective from an IoT perspective of what telecom is. Okay. So, Cyber-Physical Systems is 2 locations, Boston and Toronto. Really good locations. Boston is ranked 4th worldwide for Cyber-Physical Systems. A lot of IoT activities, a lot of wearable electronics, especially on connected health. We are surrounded by high-class hospitals and medical community. So really good development on connected health. Also in Industry 4.0, a lot of those type of activities. Toronto is the IoT center of Canada, right? That's the main hub for IoT in Canada. So those are 2 great cities to be in. Our program provides interaction with IoT companies. There is stuff from multiple clubs, including the IoT Connect club, but you have other clubs that are also running some, Connect Cyber-Physical Systems activity. You have a club that is building an electric car right now, a competition electric car, which is basically an IoT Cyber-Physical System. We also have membership to standardization bodies. We are deploying in Boston initially our SEAL lab. This is our Smart Everything Innovation Lab. The idea is to cover telecom and cyber-physical systems, particularly the students to support classes. A lot of this stuff includes hardware, so we want to do it in the context of a lab. If you're in Toronto, we give you the hardware. If you're in Boston now, you're going to be doing it in the lab, which is going to be coming this fall. This will also in the long term provide some applied research. The idea is to replicate this lab also in Toronto, right? So it's first going to be in Boston, then in Toronto. So there is, again, a lot of industry focus MS programs associated with cyber-physical systems. We have, the information systems program. We have the cyber software engineering program, data management programs. So all of those, you can still take classes from there. And they have really good overlapping with a lot of stuff that the IoT program does. Okay, and again, the co-op program, which is basically provides this valuable industry experience. And basically, Northeastern is well known for this co-op program. So let me mention a few highlights of the Cyber-Physical Systems program. So you have 2 specific IoT-specific core courses. We have elective courses on many different subjects. We have great flexibility, project-oriented courses. We have co-ops. We have 2. You basically take 4 core classes. So this is a little outdated, the previous slide, so I apologize. So you have to take 4 core classes. 2 core classes are pretty much fixed: fundamentals of Internet of Things and connected devices. Those are classes that are given both in Boston and Toronto. Then you have machine learning in telecom and IoT, which is, again, also available in Boston and Toronto. Then you have intro to smart devices, also offered in Boston and Toronto. That's the one where you will be given hardware to work on because you need to build smart devices. But you need to choose 2 of those 3 core courses, right? So if you're not really interested in building smart devices, you can take the other core class, which is object-oriented design. In Boston, it's called CSYE 6200. In Toronto, called Info 5100. Right. So depending where you are, you will take one or the other one. They are equivalent. It's the same content. So essentially, you take 4 core classes, and then you need to take the corresponding electives. And there is no requirement for a thesis in Boston. If you are in Toronto, you do have a requirement for a capstone project, which is typically done in the last semester. So this is where you demonstrate that you learn and you have the knowledge to build an cyber system. So Toronto, the last semester, you basically built an end-to-end IoT cyber system. That's what your capstone project is. You can think of this like a thesis almost. So that's a requirement for Toronto. It's not for Boston. Boston does not have that requirement. So in Boston, you can take another elective if you need to. I'm talking about electives. These are some of the electives. As you see, a lot of electives are focused on the devices, stuff dealing with building smart devices. That would be like an intro level class. Again, that's a core class. Then you have an elective, which is on advanced device design. You have a class on coming soon on formal methods and edge computing. You have classes on object-oriented programming and operating systems and parallel and concurrent and multi-thread programming, right? So a lot of the smart device stuff, a lot of the stuff that has to do with the IoT access is very software-centric. Software and hardware-centric, right? So if you're really, your background is electrical engineering, electronics, or stuff there, you're interested in electronics, your focus you may want to have a focus on smart devices. If you're more into, software programming, but really don't want to deal with hardware, probably your focus should be on smart applications, in which case you don't have to deal with the hardware. So you don't have to, deal with sensors or actuators, but you have to deal with analytics. So your focus can be on AI, machine learning, and that kind of stuff. And this is basically where we have our track for smart applications. Anything associated with machine learning, IoT, data mining, virtual environments, automation, that kind of stuff. And knowledge, what they call knowledge extraction. That's the other track. Both tracks are very, very software-centric. The difference is the programming languages that are used for each track and the type of stuff you're going to do, right? Then if your focus is more on the communication side, we have plenty of IoT protocols and architecture classes that you can take. Anything from wireless to stuff like I mentioned before, smart contracts and blockchain, right? And then you have stuff that have to do with the development of application that is common to everything, where you use it one way or the other one. Like for example, web design. These days, any simple device will have a web page running on it, right? So we have classes that focus on that, or any device will have some operating system, right? So you will have to focus on that. All of these classes are again part of what is going to be the new catalog starting in the fall, right? For all you guys starting this fall. We have a lot of faculty that have been in academia, that have been in the industry and now work in academia. Some of the faculty works in academia and the industry, so you have both. They come from all different sectors. They're all highly technical. They all have, great experience. Many of us have written books. Many of us are still, working and writing more books about the kind of stuff we teach. Many of the books that you see for the classes are books that are written by us, right? So, and it's not just that we write the book for our classes, right? So our books are used all over the world by other universities, by other programs, right? Now, this is the admission criteria, which you guys probably, you have been admitted already, so this is not as important. So I'm going to keep that. These are the details of the co-op. The co-op is basically what you're going to do after you typically finish your first year. You can start looking for an internship at a company, depending, on the type of internship you go. You do different durations. This is typically quantized, the number of months. It's not longer than 8 months. There are a number of advisors for co-op in Boston and Toronto, which again, once you come here and you go through the orientation, you will get more details. There is one class you need to take, which is a 1-credit class called ENCP 6000. Recommendation is if you're interested in pursuing a co-op, you should register for that class probably as soon as you arrive. Not as soon as you arrive, but as soon as you can, and take it in the first semester, right? The bottom line is once you go for your co-op, you have to be on campus for the last semester taking an on-ground course. And you may wonder why I'm saying on-ground. Well, a lot of the classes we offer, so Northeastern is a highly distributed university. They have branches pretty much all over the United States and Canada. So a lot of the classes, if you're really interested, they're offered as live classes in which with the right permissions, you can take them, even if they're outside your program. Let's say you are interested in certain type of advanced blockchains, smart contracts, right? And the class is being taught in, Oakland, California. With the right permissions, you can probably take that class. That's not an on-ground class, although those are actually considered on-ground. But some of the classes are online classes in which they don't fall under the umbrella of on-ground. For the last semester, you do have to take an on-ground class. Right? So this is the timeline for co-ops. And typically, again, this is something you have to be typically a year into the program to do it. So it typically happens if you start in the fall, you can go on co-op by May next year. Right? Assuming that you did well and you did take the 1 credit co-op preparation class. Depending where you end up doing your internship. The options are huge, right? And here's a list of the companies that some of our students have gone to do their co-ops, right? So the requirements for the co-op is GPA of 3.2, completed the 1 credit class I mentioned, completed 16 credits. Again, that's around a year, right? You take 8 credits each semester. If you are an international student, basically there are certain requirements. Again, I'm not going to talk about that, but they are different for Boston and Toronto. So make sure to talk to the people at Global Services for that. Okay, so that's a quick overview of what you are going to be seeing or you're going to be experiencing when you arrive here. Now, just a few things I wanted to mention. So if you're in Boston and Toronto, for the class offering is exactly the same, right? So regardless of where you are, you pretty much get the same offering. There may be some different nomenclature for some of the classes. Like I mentioned before, for object-oriented programming, the naming is different, but the content is the same, right? So be aware of that. If fall again is going to be your first semester, you probably got a guidance on what classes you should register for. Keep track of the classes. Make sure that if you haven't registered yet, make sure that there is room in those classes. It should be room, but if they're safe to be safe and sorry. So make sure you actually keep track of it. And if you can register as soon as possible. Okay. Any questions you have outside the context of this presentation, just reach out to my email, which I'll put in the chat for reference. And actually, you can also Google me and you will find my email address too. Okay. So that's it from the perspective of my presentation. Marisa, if you want to take over.
Yes, thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.
That was great. So like I said, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So I do see one question from a student. Someone is asking if there are research labs like the Institute of Experiential Robotics, AI, or AI labs open to MGen students. I don't know who would like to take that question.
Yeah, I can take that one. So that's a really, really good question. Cyber Systems combines both robotics and AI. So this program is generic in the sense that we try to focus on both areas. As I said, we are working on this SEAL lab, Smart Everything Innovation Lab. Right now is to support the industry. The idea in the long term is to provide applied research. So that one option just in this program that is going to be. There are opportunities outside. In particular, there are clubs which they do a lot of stuff, like from satellite communication to electric cars. Right? So there are many opportunities. So it's a matter of doing the right research to find them.
Perfect, thank you. So I know you answered a lot of the questions that students had previously submitted in your presentation, so thank you for that. But just turning over a little bit to Marie and Russell, just some questions that students had answered or had asked ahead of time were just revolving around registration and orientation. Would one of you just want to give like a little overview of like orientation, what that covers, what happens if a student misses orientation, something like that, just real quickly?
Sure. For orientation, so if you're an international student, there will be a separate Office of Global Services like orientation, which is mandatory. There will be a College of Engineering as a whole orientation in August that will be on ground. And those dates are all posted, or if they are not now, will be posted on the new student information page. There's a link across the top labeled orientation schedule, and all of those are there. There will also be a program-specific orientation if you were in cyber physical systems or telecommunication, and those will be led directly by Dr. Herrero. Our staff will be there as well. We're going to be talking about like specific things to your program, covering things like co-op to other things. So those are really good to attend. And again, those are going to be linked at the top of our new student information page. And Marissa, you said, so talk about orientation. And what was the other part of that?
We had some students asking specifically about like course registration, like whether they should register now or wait until they get onto campus. And I think I saw a question that came in this morning kind of asking like what happens if there's a wait list for a class, what they should do in that situation as well.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we've sent out at this point a document, and it is linked on our new student information page talking about registration guidance. It tells you specific courses, specific sections that you should be registering for. Those were prepared by Dr. Herrero and the college. And registration is open for fall 2024. If there's a gap in the guidance, so like if there's like an elective missing, you should wait for that to be provided for you. But I think you should be all set. And if you have questions about registration or if a class is full or anything, you can email us at coe-mgen-grad-advising. I will say that if there is a wait list for a course, what happens is if a course is full, so it's like if there's only 30 seats in the course, then it will go to a wait list, which usually has a maximum of 15. When a seat becomes available, it automatically will be offered to the first person on the wait list. It's arranged by how they joined. That is the only way to join a full course, is through the wait list. We as advisors, we do not over enroll people as a matter of course. So if you see a course, you're like, I really want that one, and it's already full, you should join the wait list. We do have plenty of time between now and September to join. The last day to join a course for the fall term is until I don't have the academic calendar open, but I believe it's September 15th. It's usually about 2 weeks after the term starts. But we do recommend you start the term as new students fully enrolled. And if you have questions about that, please do email us so we can work with you to make sure we're getting you into the right courses.
I just wanted to jump in just to piggyback on what Russell was saying. It's to answer the question of should they register before coming into the country, and I would say yes, just because it looks better for you when you're going through the process that you do have classes. And if you can get into the country and be here for the start of the classes, that would definitely be best for you. And as Russell was saying about the wait list, in order to be in compliance, it's very important for you to show that you're registered for the correct amount of credits that you need to have. Because even though you're registered for a waitlisted class, you're not registered for the class. You're just there. So you could have 4 credits and then waitlisted for 4. That's not a total of 8. That's only 4. So it's important for you to have an alternate, because it can come time for the classes to start and you're still on the wait list. And it's big to note that, if you're trying to get into the class, we get it, but it's also important to make sure that you do have a backup plan, because we don't want it to happen and, it comes time and you're out of compliance, and then that's a whole other thing that leads to more work. So just make sure that you do have enough options, because with this program, Rolando does give you a lot of options to take. So just keep that in mind when you are registering for your classes.
Awesome. Thank you both. That was very helpful. And I do know I see a question in the chat about tuition waivers. Unfortunately, I will say this is a very common question, particularly for master's students. Unfortunately, we do not have too many scholarship opportunities available for MS students. So most of our students do fully fund their degrees themselves, either with loans, family funds, and things like that. I will say that if you are willing and able to do the legwork, there are a number of outside entities that do have scholarship opportunities. You can definitely do a search for that. And I know our student financial services is more than happy to apply those. It might just take a little work. You have to search for them. Oftentimes there are things like you have to write an essay or get letters of recommendation, things like that. So I know you're already doing a lot to prepare to come to school. So I know adding something on top of that is a little stressful, but just wanted to let you know that there are opportunities out there, but unfortunately, funding for MS students, particularly in the College of Engineering, is very rare.
And I want to add something to that. So in the program itself, you can actually get a TA position, teaching assistantship position, which is based on classes you have already taken, right? So if you took a class, you did very well, you can reach out to the instructor, and the instructor will have TA openings for that class. Again, provided you did good, right? That's very, very common. That typically happens after the first semester. That's one option. So it's something to take into account. The other thing, this is an industry-oriented program. So the idea for you is to go to the industry, not to do long-term research in the same sense that a PhD student will do. Therefore, you are basically for a very short term here, for essentially 2 years, going to the industry right away. So that basically makes it a lot more, puts a lot more limitations on you getting a grant to do a PhD research, because you're going to be out in 2 years, right? But the good thing is you get prepared for the industry, right? And the industry will pay you fairly well. So that's basically the drawback and the trade-offs, right? So you basically get out of here in 2 years, but you're working in the industry, right? As opposed to getting funding, but staying for the long term, pursuing a PhD program, right? And staying in academia, right?
Great, thank you.
No problem.
So for our student ambassadors, since you've been a little quiet, I do have questions for you guys as well. So we've had students submit some questions asking, if you brushed up on any languages prior to coming, if you brushed up on any topics prior to starting your program, and if you did, what were those topics or programming languages, and how did you go about doing that?
Let me start with that. That's a good question, actually. I always recommend to just get familiar with Python, just with the basics, not very advanced in Python, and also get familiar with a Linux, any distribution, not any specific, whatever you're comfortable with. I usually recommend just get familiar with CentOS or Rocky Linux, because in different projects in our program, you definitely need your Linux knowledge. Also, we have a Linux a course as well, but if you get familiar in advance, it's great advantage for you. Sorry for that. And also, if you have more time, I always in this kind of meetings suggest students to go through the Jeremy's Lab. This is a YouTube channel. Just prepare students to get familiar in CCNA level knowledge, because telecommunication network program is specific in internet protocol. You will get familiar in routing protocols. So we have intense projects. So if you don't have any background in telecommunications, it's highly recommended to go through this channel and start again just getting familiar with the routing protocols. Of course, you will get familiar with these protocols in our courses, but it's better to do everything in advance to get a better marks and have a better situation.
Great, thank you. Amir, do you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, I would just say the same thing, like have basic fundamental knowledge of Python and everything, because everywhere you code for something or little bit. So if you have like a basic overview of coding like Python, it would be helpful for you. And like when I was coming my first year, so I personally reached out to Ali. He was a student ambassador then. So he recommended me to just go through the CCNA course with Jeremy IT Lab. Like I watched it before I came to Toronto, and that course of Jeremy IT Lab, like it really helped out to prove build my fundamentals of networking in that. So if you have a lot of time, you can go to Jeremy Lab, but have some basic knowledge of Python so that you could apply it anywhere. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you both. And then we have a question. Sorry, Ellie. Can you talk about the YouTube channel that you mentioned or drop it in the chat just so everybody can see it real quick? So for students asking about sort of what is your tuition for the year and where you can find that. So it is going to depend on which campus you're in. So unfortunately, I don't have the number for Canada off the top of my head at this moment. But if you are going to a US campus, you'll be taking 8 credits. And your total per credit is $1,863 a credit. So each class is 4 credits. You'll also have, I'll try to put it in the chat as well, there are a number of fees that you have to pay just as a first-time student, and then some that are reoccurring throughout the semester. So I can try to find that for you. But just one thing I want to point out, you will not be billed for your classes until you register for them. So you won't be able to prepay for a class, for instance, and you won't be billed until you actually register. So but I will find that and I will drop that in the chat. And then in the meantime, I think we have one last question that students pre-submitted that we can go over. And this was pretty much for our student ambassadors. Just how do you find, since you're both in 2 different cities, how do you find getting around each city, and sort of, can you explain like what it's like as a new person in either Boston or Toronto, and kind of maybe like something you wish you had known prior to moving to each city, whether that be like how to look for a roommate or like what particular neighborhoods to live in, things like that.
So like in Toronto is like pretty walkable city, and everything is like just nearby. And even if there's like a lot of snow, there's a whole under network of systems underground. It's called the path. So you can reach out to anywhere. So like I leave my home and I reach the university like within an hour, and I don't get any snow. So it's like the best way to roam around in the Toronto system. And like even the transit system is very well around here, and like it's always safe, and you can go at any time. Like even if I have roamed around at 2 o'clock in the night, and it's pretty safe, and the environment is chill. You can meet with different people. There are multicultural people over here, parts from different parts. uh, Attend multiple events around every month. There are multiple events, so you could get to know what types of events are going on. You could network with people, get to know what's going around. That would be best to go around in Toronto.
About Boston, Boston is a tourist city. Everyone wanted to go around and see the city. and always there's a place to find in Boston, and still I haven't seen Boston after 2 years that much. I would say the only challenge I had in Boston was housing. You should have yeah, I should have joined more groups before coming in Boston to find better places. And also I have another, I just remembered, I have another suggestion to new students for getting on-campus jobs to just recover some money. Um, I would recommend to go through the Workday. We have a Workday platform, and just start applying for on-campuses job. And also, yes, TA positions are available after second semester, but you can get a job in library and so on in our Workday platform.
Great, thank you. So let's just take a quick look at the chat. So I see Marie, thank you for answering the last question. Do you have a question?
No, I have a question. I just wanted to chime in about something that Ali said about in terms of Workday, and at the orientation that we're going to have for graduate student services, we're actually going to be having folks present about stuff like that. So it'd be important that if you're going to be coming into the country in enough time to attend that orientation, we will have a panel of people that will be discussing information about that as well. So be sure to check your email about the date and options to join, because it definitely will be helpful to information that Ali and Amir did talk about, so that you'll have an in-person person to basically answer your questions and get more information about. So that would also help. The housing piece, yes, since for experience, Russell and I having the experience of talking with a lot of students, that does come up. And I'm a Bostonian, so I do understand. I've lived here my whole life. So yes, housing can be tough, but if you keep in communication with others that are currently here, or also the student ambassadors, that definitely will help you, because they have ties with people possibly. But it's just be careful as well when you're looking for housing, and just, there's resources that they can give you as well. But I just wanted to chime in from the other perspective of the housing piece, and also information that we will have for you there at the orientation.
Awesome. Thanks, Marie. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, like also I want to add one thing about housing. We have a Northeastern Toronto community on the Viva Engage platform. So usually like students like say like, hi, I'm so and so, I'm coming to here and looking for housemate or roommate. So when I came here, like I have published like I'm so and so, like I have network with so many people and like found some potential roommates also, some locations also. So you could work on this, like you just post on the Viva Engage platform on the Northeastern Toronto part. So if you just go to your student hub, there's on the top corner the Microsoft apps, there's Viva Engage. You could just post, hi, I'm so and so, I'm coming to this, I'm looking for a partner or roommate. So you could find houses. I have even found some houses over there. Yeah, you can find some WhatsApp groups over there. It's really helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I don't see any other questions in the chat, but I did put the College of Engineering Admissions email address in the chat. So if you guys want to take that down, please feel free to ask us any additional questions that come up afterwards. I know many of you, it's your late evening, so thank you for coming today. I know you want to probably go off and enjoy the rest of your evening. And then lastly, I just wanted to thank all of our wonderful panelists today. Thank you so much for joining. I know a lot of students had questions, so I know I really appreciate you coming today. So with that, since no one has any other questions, I think we are good to exit the webinar. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the College of Engineering Admissions team, and we're happy to point you in the right direction. So thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful night, day, evening, and have a wonderful day. See you all later.
Thank you.